The executive summary of a business case may be all the decision maker reads. Decision makers are busy people. For high-value projects, the decision makers will be very senior busy people. The executive summary of a business case may be all they have time to read. For example, in a recent business case I was asked to review, it was over 250 pages, and on top of that there were a series of appendices which hundreds of pages more. Very unlikely that a decision maker has the time to read the whole report. Yes, they may get somebody to review it for them, but a decision maker will read a well-written 10-page executive summary. In my experience, too many executive summaries are poorly written. They look like they've been hurriedly pulled together at the last minute. Being asked to write an executive summary for a business case may be a daunting prospect for you. It is much more straightforward when you keep in mind a few simple concepts I will outline. But first, what is an executive summary? It should include the key messages you want your audience to have in their minds when they are finished reading, the information and concepts that they need to understand. What is the problem? What are the benefits? How much does it cost? What are the risks? And what action do you want them to take? A good way to start thinking about the key content is to imagine meeting one of the intended recipients in the corridor. What key points would you tell them? The executive summary then should start with that elevator pitch. Before you start writing your executive summary, you should identify the intended audience. So the first question is, who am I writing this for? Knowing or anticipating who will be reading what you have written is key to being effective. The executive summary serves several possible purposes. Firstly, review. Reviewers, particularly independent reviewers, may either be lay professionals or technical experts and will want to find out what the business case is about, and they'll certainly welcome a good summary of the contents. Approval. As I've said, a decision maker will usually only read the executive summary, and as a result, it forms the basis of the decision that is being made. For these people, the executive summary is their window into the subject, and it needs to be clear, logical, and comprehensive. That is, if they are to understand and agree to the recommendations. And the third element is delivery. Implementers will read the executive summary to find out what they need to read in the full report. This group is charged with implementing the project once it is approved and are looking for a broad summary of the contents of the business case. So think about your intended audience. Who and why do they want to read your executive summary? And obviously the decision makers are high on that list. Having identified your intended audience, you can then think about what they need to know and do as a result of reading the business case executive summary. As I've said, you need to identify what the key messages that you want your audience to understand, like what is the problem? What are the benefits? How much will it cost? What are the risks? And what action do you want them to take? Work on reducing your key messages down to a few key points in 1 or 2 sentences. When you're writing your executive summary, you should always keep your intended audience in mind and write it for them. If your audience includes lay professionals, which most senior managers are, you probably need to briefly explain all the technical detail and not include them in fine detail that only the experts would really understand. Broadly, an executive summary, as you might expect, summarizes the main points of the underlying business case. It usually has 3 sections: introduction, main body, and conclusion. The introduction sets the scene and explains what the report is about, including what action needs to be taken as a result. It doesn't need to be more than a few sentences, and hence should include your elevator pitch. The main body of the text outlines the key findings and needs to focus only on the most relevant bits of the report. It doesn't have to be comprehensive, it doesn't have to include everything. Most importantly, it needs to stand alone without the reader having to refer to the main body of the report. Finally, you need a conclusion, which outlines the action needed from the person reading the report. Knowing who are your audience, it means that you can adapt the content of your writing to address their main concerns. It will also help you to choose on the voice to use. The writer's voice describes the writing style, but also includes how formal or informal the tone should be. Letters or emails to colleagues may be written in a very informal style. However, the same style is not appropriate for professional situations when a more formal style is required. If you're writing to very busy people, then you should adopt a brief and succinct style of writing that conveys the key messages quickly and clearly. You could also consider including graphs, charts, diagrams, or illustrations to help convey the key messages rather than having to read a whole lot of text. So in conclusion, the executive summary of a business case may be all that the decision maker reads. An executive summary cannot be all things to all people, so identify your intended audience and then focus on them and their needs to get the result you want. You only have a few pages to provide a coherent story and outline the investment logic. If you want to learn more about business cases, go and download your free copy of A Quick Guide to Transport Business Cases. And with that comes a capability scorecard. Thanks for watching. Check us out at transportfutures.institute. Check out the other videos on this YouTube channel, on your Transport Future YouTube channel, and connect with me on LinkedIn, and request to join the Your Transport Future LinkedIn group. Thank you.